Right now, 9:30 a.m., at this exact moment, Iran's military commanders are staring at satellite images and doing the math. And the math is not good for them. A 45,000-ton American warship just moved into their backyard, and it didn't come alone. This is the USS Tripoli, and if you're Iran, this ship is your worst nightmare made of steel. Stay with me, because in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why Tehran is panicking, what this ship can actually do, and why the Strait of Hormuz just became the most dangerous waterway on Earth. Let's set the scene, because context is everything here. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a stretch of water. It is, without exaggeration, the jugular vein of the global economy. 21% of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow choke point every single day. That's more than 1/5 of every barrel of oil powering cars, planes, factories, and hospitals across the planet. For decades, Iran has dangled a threat over this waterway like a sword. Their logic was simple. If you push us into a corner, we close the strait, the global economy crashes, everyone suffers, and you'll back down before we do. It was an audacious bet, and for years it worked. Navies tiptoed around it. Diplomats avoided direct confrontation. The world essentially gave Iran a veto over global oil flow. But something changed in March 2026, and Iran did not see it coming. Here's what Iran's strategy actually looks like on paper, and I want you to see this because it is genuinely clever. The IRGC Navy, Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard naval force, doesn't have aircraft carriers. It doesn't have stealth destroyers. What it has is numbers and aggression. Their doctrine is called asymmetric swarm warfare. Hundreds of small, fast, fiberglass speedboats armed with RPGs, torpedoes, and anti-ship missiles swarm a target from every direction simultaneously, like a school of piranha taking down something 100 times their size. They've also stockpiled thousands of naval mines, contact-fused, acoustic-fused, designed to sit silently on the ocean floor and rip holes in the hull of any vessel passing overhead. And above it all, Shahed 136 kamikaze drones, cheap, GPS-guided flying bombs that already proved themselves in Ukraine, 50 of them patrolling the strait day and night. On paper, it's a credible deterrent. Against most navies, it might even work. Now here's the part that nobody in Tehran anticipated. Because while Iran was deploying its 300 boats and laying its mines, the USS Tripoli and the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit had already been given their orders. And those orders were terrifyingly simple. Open the strait, 72 hours, 0 American losses. How? Let me show you. The USS Tripoli, LHA-7, is not a normal warship. At 45,000 tons and 844 feet long, she is America's most lethal amphibious assault ship ever built. But don't let the word amphibious fool you. This is not a troop ferry. This ship is a floating Air Force, Army, and Navy all packed into one hull. Her flight deck launches F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters vertically, no catapult needed. She carries 20 of them. Each one is effectively invisible to Iranian radar, with a radar cross-section smaller than a steel marble. Each F-35B carries cruise missiles with a 600 nautical mile reach, meaning it can strike targets deep inside Iran without ever entering Iranian airspace. Below deck, 12 AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters wait. Each Viper carries 16 Hellfire missiles and a 20mm cannon capable of firing 4,000 rounds per minute, the most lethal helicopter gunships in active service on Earth. And then there's the well deck. The Tripoli floods her own lower hull to deploy LCAC hovercraft, each screaming across the water at 40 knots, carrying 60 Marines plus LAV-25 armored vehicles per wave. But the real weapon isn't steel. It's the 2,500 Marines of the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. The 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit is not a standard infantry force. These are combat veterans who rotate between the Pacific and the Middle East, permanently forward deployed, permanently battle-ready. Their ground combat element includes 16 reactivated M1A1 Abrams main tanks. Let that sink in. Iran's fast boats are fiberglass. The Abrams weighs 69 tons and fires a 120mm round that punches through steel like paper. The 31st also carries 12 HIMARS, high-mobility artillery rocket systems, with a range of 300 kilometers. One HIMARS launcher can hit a rocket that hits a target the size of a car from 300 kilometers with GPS precision. This is not a force designed to patrol a coastline. This is a force designed to break a blockade and hold what it takes. Before I walk you through how this operation actually unfolds, if you're finding this breakdown useful, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who want real analysis, not just headlines. All right, let's get into the mission. Military analysts, citing U.S. Central Command's March 13th deployment orders, describe a scenario that unfolds in 3 brutal phases. In the first phase, from hours 0 to 12, the F-35Bs go up first. Flying at 30,000 feet with a radar cross-section smaller than a marble, they are literally invisible to Iran's best air defense systems. Their first targets aren't boats. They're the drone control stations, coastal radar arrays, and tactical command posts that make Iran's swarm coherent and coordinated. Without eyes, the swarm is blind, and a blind swarm is just a traffic jam of slow, flammable boats drifting in open water. In the second phase, from hours 12 to 24, the AH-1Z Vipers launch. Flying at just 50 feet off the water, below radar detection, they hunt mine-laying vessels and fast attack boat clusters with Hellfire missiles from 5 kilometers out. Meanwhile, HIMARS opens up on shore-based assembly areas, saturating them with precision rockets across a 300-kilometer reach. The swarm begins to dissolve. In the third and final phase, from hours 24 to 72, the Marines land. MV-22 Ospreys deliver assault teams at speed. CH-53K King Stallions bring in the heavy armor. LCAC hovercraft punch through the beach with vehicles and reinforcements. Within 48 hours, a forward operating base is established with a 12-kilometer kill radius. The strait is open, and it stays open. This is not a battle plan drawn up last week. This is a doctrine refined across decades of Pacific and Gulf deployments, tested in real combat, and specifically engineered for exactly this kind of scenario, and Iran's commanders know it. Now here's the critical insight, and this is the part most people miss. Iran isn't panicking because they think they'll simply lose a battle. Iran is panicking because they've run the numbers on what losing that battle actually means. 300 IRGC fast boats armed with 50mm guns and RPGs going up against 20 fifth-generation stealth fighters invisible to their radar? That is not an asymmetric matchup. That is a slaughter with paperwork. Their Shahed 136 drones, the same ones that terrorized Ukraine cities, face a ship equipped with advanced rolling airframe missiles, specifically designed to down entire swarms of them. Their 5,000 naval mines are neutralized by minesweeping operations before Marines ever set foot on a beach. And if Iran sends a single missile at a U.S. warship, the legal and political justification for a far larger response becomes immediate and internationally defensible. They set the trap. America walked in with a flamethrower. Let's zoom out, because this is bigger than one ship, one strait, and one confrontation. The deployment of the Tripoli Expeditionary Group is a message not just to Iran, but to every nation watching. It says that global commerce is not a negotiating chip. The free flow of oil, cargo, and goods through international waterways is not subject to a veto by any regional power. And there's a harder truth embedded in all of this. Iran's entire deterrence strategy was built on the assumption that the cost of challenging American naval power would simply be too high, politically, economically, militarily. That assumption is now being tested in real time. Satellite imagery from Maxar Technologies, dated March 22, 2026, reportedly shows Iranian minesweepers going inactive, fast boat formations dispersing, and shore-based missile batteries standing cold as the Tripoli approaches. Iran blinked. Whether that blink holds, whether this escalates into something larger, whether diplomacy catches up before the next flashpoint, that is the question that will define the next chapter of this confrontation, and it is a question we will be watching closely. If you've made it to this point, you already know this situation isn't over. Phase 2 of U.S. Central Command's response is already being discussed. Cruise missile campaigns, bunker buster